There's something deeply uncomfortable about realizing your entire generation has become predictable. Not just predictable, a trope, and you see it everywhere. In books, television, film, and the worst part is, and I'm allowed to say this because I'm one of you, I'm in my late 30s. I was there. I watched it happen in real time, and I watched us go from chaotic, reckless, interesting human beings into writers who sound like a HR department. And once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Modern millennial writing doesn't sound like human beings talking. It sounds like a therapy session transcript. Everything and everyone is processing, holding space, validating feelings, and setting boundaries. Nobody just says, "You hurt me, you're an asshole." Nobody says, "That was a stupid thing to do." Nobody says the ugly, messy, honest thing people actually say when they're angry, confused, or human. Everything is sanitized, bubble wrapped, pre-approved. But here's the thing. If you sat at my kitchen table with me and my friends, most of us are millennial or a little bit older, well, you're not going to hear therapeutic language. You're going to hear lots of sarcasm, dark humour, brutal honesty, things that are notoriously politically incorrect, things that are funny, inappropriate, and deeply human. You will hear life. Modern millennial characters, or characters written by modern millennials, well, they sound like millennials performing emotional maturity for an invisible audience, and that's not the same thing. At all. Then you have meta humour. That used to be the seasoning of a meal. That was the seasoning, the little sprinkle on top. Now it's the entire thing. It's the entire bloody hamburger. Characters don't experience moments anymore. They comment on things. They undercut them. They interrupt sincerity with irony. Nothing is allowed to exist without a wink to the audience. Because sincerity is terrifying. Sincerity requires vulnerability. Irony protects you. Irony lets you pretend you don't care. But when every character is self-aware, detached, or constantly commenting on their own existence, that literally their own human existence, I've read whole novels like that, they stop feeling real, they stop feeling present, they stop feeling alive. They feel like a Twitter account run by a therapist. And this is the one that's going to make people probably uncomfortable. But it needs to be said. A lot of millennial writers do not write male characters. They write projections, wish fulfillment, punishment fantasies, therapy exercises. The soft, perfect, emotionally fluid guy who always seems to say the right thing, or the emotionally incompetent guy who purely exists to be corrected. Neither of these men exist. I'm a real guy. We are contradictory. We are emotionally intelligent in some areas and completely lost in others. And it's never the same thing for every single guy you're going to talk to. These are the kind of things, and we'll never explain. We'll carry things silently. We'll say the wrong thing when we mean the right thing. They are human too, and so are we. But millennial writers often flatten them into symbols, not people, and reading that feels dramatically different. And this isn't a one-sided problem. Millennials writing women are also the same kind of character flattening, archetypal. Modern female characters are increasingly written to be one of two extremes. The manic pixie dream girl, can we leave her in the 2010s please? Or the permanently angry girl boss. There is no middle. There's no softness without irony, no anger without righteousness, no contradiction without commentary. And to quote my friend, who helped me write this, real women are complicated. They are warm and cruel and funny and insecure and confident and contradictory, sometimes all within the same 5 minutes. But millennial writers keep giving us the same women, the same with guys, the same archetypes over and over again, just with different clothing. It's boring. And it's completely unrealistic. Now, millennials were raised on the internet. We were the generation that went analog to digital. We were the first generation to document ourselves constantly. Old blogs, MySpace, Tumblr, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We turned ourselves into content, and now we've turned ourselves into characters. The problem is, most people aren't that interesting. Seriously, most of us live very boring lives, and that doesn't lack value, but real life isn't structured like a story. Stories require shape, pressure, transformation, but the self-insert millennial often doesn't transform. They observe, they comment, they exist, they drink coffee, they feel disconnected, they analyse their own emotions, and that's it. That's not storytelling. That's documentation, and documentation is not the same thing as narrative. And this might be the strangest thing I've picked up on. We were the generation of chaos. We were the illegal warehouse raves, underage drinking, kissing strangers whose names we will never know. We lived recklessly, we did stupid stuff, and we lived completely in that moment. And yet, millennial writers are terrified of intimacy. Not just physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy. Characters don't touch without commentary. They don't connect without being analysed. Everything is filtered through self-awareness. Nothing is allowed to simply happen. We've become observers in our own lives instead of participants, and that distance shows up massively in writing. Millennials were rebellious. We questioned authority, we broke rules, we lived in grey areas, and now we moralise everything. Every character must have a lesson, every character must be correct, every story must justify itself ethically. But life isn't morally tidy. People do bad things for understandable reasons. People do good things for selfish reasons. People contradict themselves constantly, and that's what makes them real. But millennial writers often prioritise moral clarity over emotional truth, and emotional truth is what readers actually care about. And you know what? If that offends people, good. This is an uncomfortable truth. We, the millennial species, we didn't lose our talent. We lost our danger. We became careful, self-aware, managed. We started writing characters who behave the way we think we should behave, instead of beings actually behaving in a human way. We stopped writing about life and started writing about approval. And here's the part that just fascinates me the most. One of the most accurate portrayals of the millennial in modern fiction, New Millennial Boys with a Z, by the way, written by someone much younger than us. Because distance creates clarity, let's be real. He saw us more clearly than we see ourselves, because he wasn't trying to protect the image. He was documenting the reality, be it heightened reality, but he was documenting it. And the reality is, we are not the generation we think we are. We've become safer, predictable, more afraid, and it shows. Millennials were supposed to be the interesting generation, the disruptive generation, the generation that changed everything. Instead, we became a trope. And the first step in fixing that is admitting it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I'm Darth James. If you want to support this channel, remember Substack, Patreon, channel memberships and Ko-fi, or just get involved in the conversation. Because why not just have conversations? Comments matter. If that hype button is there, please hit that too. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.